Now, if you guys haven't watched our last video, you need to go back and check that one out. We raised this entire house by about 4 feet, and then we added 2 feet to the foundation height because the interior space, the ceiling was really low. So we wanted to jack that up to give us a normal height ceiling, which finished ceiling height is going to be about 8'8". But what we also did was we added some big windows in place of the existing windows, as well as some giant patio doors out back. So today we're going to be installing those windows so we can get this thing finished up, or at least sealed back in before the winter comes, which is right around the corner. As you can see, we've already gone ahead and installed the pressure treated window bucks. My wife hates that term, window buck, for some reason. But these are the window bucks, and that is what we're going to be mounting the windows to. Now, before we install those windows, we need to go ahead and flash the sill. Not exactly sure why, because it's pressure treated lumber on concrete, so none of this is going to rot, but we're going to prevent any air movement on the inside and water damage. So we'll go ahead and flash that sill, make sure that's all nice and watertight. Then we set our windows, and the reason we flash the sill before we set the windows is because we actually leave the bottom of that open so that any water that does get in there can come out. Now, another thing that I did was I went ahead and cut the side pieces of the window buck on the bottom at a 5-degree angle so that the bottom sill plate is actually, I don't know if it's called a sill plate, but we're going to call it a sill plate, is actually sloped by that 5 degrees. So that's going to give us a little bit of pitch and create that slope that we need to get that water, or any water that does get in there, to roll out and get away from the inside of our house. Let's go ahead and start flashing. Now, I did a lot of research on flashing tape. So flashing tape works great in traditional construction, but the problem is it has a hard time sticking to concrete. So, like I said, I did a bunch of research on flashing tape, which is fun. Or at least it's fun to me. It's interesting. But I did find that SIGA makes a product, which is a Swiss company. They make a product called Fentrim, and Fentrim will stick to just about anything. It's super sticky, and a lot of contractors are using it to seal in the sheathing to the concrete foundation because it sticks extremely well to concrete. So that's what we're going to be using today to seal this all in across the bottom of the sill. And yeah, let's go. So start by rolling this out. We're gonna go just a little bit past the edge of the window, somewhere right in there. Now, when you're flashing windows, you want to remember that whole shingle method. So you want to kind of work your way up from the bottom and know that all the water is going to run over and down. So this SIGA Fentrim 430 actually comes with a pre-folded tab right there that doesn't have any of that plastic on the bottom of it, which is good for like the outside of the window because you stick it to the outside of the window frame and then it actually wraps around and comes back. Oh, these gloves are not working out. It's so cold. That's the other thing that's good about this tape, is that it actually still will stick in cold weather. So kind of creating like a little bit of an overhang over the top, and then I'll cut the sides of the window opening and roll it over. So yeah, this stuff works great for an air sealer too. So it's going to prevent any air leakage around that window buck. So you cut those little tabs and then you can just kind of lay this over in here. So now we need to cut these little butterflies to seal this corner, and then we can lay over top of all of that. But really, this next part is really just to seal this tiny little corner right here. So you cut just a small piece and then you fold it over on top of itself and cut little dog ears off the corners. So then you can really wrap it around this corner and not have to worry about any folds. Now we know that that corner is nice and sealed up. Cut another small strip. Then we lay this over like that. And there you have it, a watertight corner. Look at that, ain't she a beauty?
Can we set her down once, get in the handle?
Sure. If you need a moment.
All right, what'd you say?
I said if you need a moment.
That's what I thought you said. Pretty good, isn't it?
I mean, it's
good enough for who it's for. You can't see it from my house.
This side could come up a little bit.
Like what, a 16th?
Yeah.
Really?
You want to do it right or you want to do it your way? So you're supposed to nail these things every other hole. So you start by sticking it like this up against the sill.
Oh, nice.
And then the cool thing is that that tape will, you know, it'll waterproof from the side of the sill back and then come over this.
That is awesome, man.
Yeah. So I want you to just cut it down here once I get it up there.
I hope I can handle it.
I think you can. You're a pretty smart feller.
I wouldn't go too far.
All right.
It's a heck of a product.
And then just stick that kind of to that nail frame. And then we'll come back and we'll stick it.
Oh, and then that sticks to the concrete.
Yeah,
that is slick. That is really slick. And I'm just gonna say mine looks better than your work. I'm just saying.
You think so?
Yeah, it definitely does.
It's not all about looks.
Obviously,
It's about performance. Now when it comes to the doors, we actually plan on doing a raised floor inside the house, so we needed some thresholds. And in order to place those thresholds, I wanted to go ahead and pour some concrete, so we added some rebar and I drove some screws in place, some Tapcons, that way it would tie everything into the existing slab. And I also sloped that threshold away from the house so that any water that gets into those jambs would be able to drain out. We actually went ahead and set those doors a couple days earlier because we had an extra hand with the mason being there, and those 8-foot wide doors are incredibly heavy. Then we went ahead and flashed the sides of the doors as well as the top of the door, and that gives us a nice weatherproof seal all the way around it while still allowing any water that gets into that sill to be able to drain freely out.
You got everything. Are the doors locked over there? We can't get in now. Look at the area around your window.
I think it looks good, honestly.
It does. Put a screw in the top one and let's see how it looks.
Okay, so now we're gonna use some insulation, some spray foam insulation around the rough opening to seal the window, the gaps between the rough opening and the window. But also there's some gaps in this concrete between the window buck just because it's not completely flat there. So I'm gonna fill as much as possible with this stuff. This is DAP's no warp foam, and this is perfect for windows and doors because if it expands too much, you could have some pressure on your windows, and that's a problem, obviously. All right guys, we got the house dried in. The windows and doors are installed in flash, which means we're weatherproof. We can work on the inside and be comfortable being able to heat that. And we've got a ton of projects to get to on the inside, so I can't wait to share those with you. Until next time, be safe and happy building.